Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexis Gossick. I'm with the Technology Council of Central PA. Thanks very much for carving time out this morning, early morning session for today's Tech with Proofpoint. And Chuck will be facilitating for us in just a moment. If you wouldn't mind, since we have an abbreviated session this morning, go ahead and drop your intro into the chat, your name, your role, and what company you're working for. If you have any specific questions that you would like to see answered during today's session, please feel free to drop those into the chat too. And without further ado, Chuck, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Fantastic. I'd like to thank um, the organization, Alexis. These have been very helpful to me as I've been, you know, going through central Pennsylvania and talking with different leaders. So the Technology Council of Central Pennsylvania is I think, a really good organization to kind of hear different things that are going on. Today, and let me quickly share my screen here so that I can get the slide deck up, and um, we can move very quickly through this part. There we go. And as you're right, Alexis, the buttonology is always fun to find. And there's that. And now I can share. And we want to share this and share. So hopefully everybody can see my screen now. So today I'm joined with Vladimir Shapiro, who's our Senior Manager for Technical Sales. I'm an executive advisor for public sector at Proofpoint. So public sector includes federal, state, local, higher ed, and K through 12. So we cover the gamut of organizations within public sector. The agenda that I will follow today, so I'm going to speak to something I think is pretty much top of mind to a lot of folks, which is related to primarily to email and our email type of solutions, a little bit of training, and then like everyone else, AI is top of mind, so we have to talk about AI and make sure we're covering that. But this will be the agenda that I will follow. So Proofpoint. So we're a human-centric, protecting people, defending data security company. We're a company that was founded back in 2002. And, if you think about that, 22 years cybersecurity company, we've seen a lot over the years and we're still going strong. We did go public in 12. In 2021, we were taken private by an investment company called Thoma Bravo. At the time, it was the largest private equity acquisition. And, in fact, it was valued at the time at $12.3 billion. And we have about 4,500 employees globally, have offices all over the world. And that's really important as we get through the dialogue. And in 2020, we generated more than $1 billion worth of revenue. And at the time, that was the first SaaS-based cybersecurity company to meet that milestone. And so we talk about protecting people and defending data. And so what does that mean? We follow and have followed something called the MITRE attack chain. If you're not familiar with MITRE, you can do a quick Google search on that. But the MITRE attack chain kind of has three basic phases to it. And so we break those into solutions that we offer. And that the attack chain kind of starts out with, the first block here with grouping, which is, the bad guys are trying to recon your organization, right? They're looking for any way to get into that in the organization initially. and they're very persistent about that. If they do find someone that's vulnerable or have the ability to do that, they then hit that organization and they start to do what we call the next phase, which is gathering info related to the organization. They will work through and escalate those credentials. So they'll do the privacy escalation on that individual, and they do that kind of in a stealth mode, trying to be undetected. And then they do lateral movement throughout the organization. At the bottom there, you'll see that we have one consolidated platform, but we break our products into, first off, stopping the initial compromise, then halting that lateral movement or privilege escalation. And then we have solutions that then make sure that when it comes to, that movement outward, that stealing of your data, the impact to the organization, we have the ability to prevent those data losses. And within that, we also have a set of managed services to help organizations. If you don't have the staff in order to do this, we can provide managed services across all three of those different environments. And so, given the approach, again, it's human-centric. Our mission is to protect the people of your organization. And then defend the data that you have. And we have, again, solutions across our platform to do that. We have people protection, information protection across one platform. And then we couple that with our implementation and managed services. I would be remiss if I didn't throw out my Gartner slide, though this is not going to be the magic quadrant that you may all be subjected to. But one of the things we're very proud of is, because we've talked about human centricity, Gartner, during their release to the CISO strategic imperatives, finally released down at the bottom of the circles on the left. They feel that CISOs need to pivot to human-centric security. They've been watching, they've been hearing, actually, they've been hearing us when we've been talking, and they realize that, the human in the loop, that person is the most important to your organization, and we pride ourselves in doing that. I will talk about, and I'll build this out quickly. So what's powering our solutions? What makes a Proofpoint different? Well, it's really because of our market share that we have right now, because we've been in the business so long. You can see on the left-hand side some of the things that we are known for in the threat intelligence space. I will tell you, we review 1/3 of the world's email on a daily basis. Let that sink in for a moment. So if we're reviewing that, and we review those emails, something we only do that's really unique. And if you don't take any other notes during this session, we do evaluation pre-delivery. What does that mean? So before it hits your Exchange or your email environment, whether it's Office 365, whether it's Google, whether it's whatever, you have a hosted email locally, we do pre-delivery. So we get rid of those threats before they actually touch those environments. And that's really important. Now, if something does get through, we do have an API solution that can remove that, but it's really important that it doesn't enter, especially when you have disconnected users right now, those remote users that we have to deal with since COVID, and they're mounting. So then what else makes us different? So the way in which we detect and how that's engineered. We actually, the biggest challenge that your organization has is URLs coming through to your organization. And on the surface, for right now, if you don't have us deployed, they may look normal. But what we do before is we actually tear apart those URLs in that environment before it hits yours. And we actually inspect to make sure it's a valid URL. It's not a URL that goes out to some nefarious site. So we do that before it actually hits the environment. And we do that very rapidly. And then we allow a good email with the URL to actually flow to your organization. We also do um, network traffic analysis. So we are designed and engineered to look at the traffic that's going on within your organization. We do behavioral AI. So from an email standpoint, we're looking at making sure that your partners that you're working with, they're trusted. We're looking for any type of anomaly detection. And I can go through in the next couple slides some of those. But one example is that spoofing of a domain. So you work with a typical partner, they may have an I in their domain name. As people go out and register, instead of it being an I, they register the one. It looks exactly the same. And so then they try to send an email to that individual, like in procurement, and try to spoof that individual into believing it's coming from the right organization. And that's happening. We detect that. We detect that by knowing that that domain was just registered, right? So we keep an eye on newly registered domains. And then semantic AI. So we also do that natural understanding, semantic analysis, that kind of like the boat, the canoe, et cetera, they're all vessels running over the water. We look to detect to make sure that someone isn't trying to spoof a user based upon, language processing. And so our threat landscape. So what we're seeing, so blended threats. So business email compromise, ransomware, people trying to do credential phishing. So we're seeing that as the threats that are still ongoing and in some instance escalating because they're related to the human in the loop. We're also seeing where folks are trying to use some type of AI or artificial intelligence, whether it's, the better email that's coming into that organization instead of a, misspelled word, et cetera. They're writing very good emails now, but we still understand what they're doing. QR codes are big. Um, Web-based threats. And this isn't web-based from the standpoint of, just that common URL that would come through. What we're seeing is instead of the individual, putting a bad URL through, they're allowing those good URLs, and then they're going out and compromising those websites and then sending out an email campaign to that compromised website. So it looks good to the individual, but then it's going out and hitting a bad website and then downloading, everything from a keylogger to something along those lines. We're seeing that user click time is decreasing. What does that mean? So your users are becoming impatient, right? And so when they see our URL come through, it's less time for them to click on that email that has a URL. And then we're seeing that payload less environment. So before you used to get, let's say, an executable that would come through or something like that. We're not seeing as much anymore. We're seeing those folks that are trying to use URLs that are essentially either going out to a malicious site or that email that has a newly formed domain and trying to get your users to go out there. And just so you know, if you have any questions, Vlad is there to help in the chat. So please go ahead, and post your questions that are in there. So email security, detection. So this is a company over the last 30 days, a snapshot of what we've been able to do for that organization. So on the left, you can see about 16.1 million emails coming through. We immediately know from our platform that about 16.1 million, or I'm sorry, about 8.2 million of those are really threats that we are already aware of. So we discount them already. In addition to what we've learned from either your environment or from other like type environments, there's another 3,000 of those, right, that are discounted. So ultimately, 6.9 million would essentially be delivered to your organization. Now, there are some, about 525, that users have reported, hey, look, we don't know what that looks like. And so we've gone ahead and remediated those by going ahead and removing those from your inbox. I'll draw your attention down to the bottom. So we monitor outbound senders. You may want to know, hey, who's sending the most email in my environment? And then also, where are most of the outbound emails going to? You can see here Gmail and Yahoo are topping the list for this organization. And I will tell you that's really important because of the Google Yahoo announcement that, about, these bulk senders and that they're going to start throttling or if you don't have your DMARC, DKIM, SPF set up correctly, they're going to start blocking some of that block email, some of that bulk email that's being sent. So one of the other things we do on our platform is we give you a list of very attacked people, so within your organization who the bad guys are targeting. That's a really good thing for you to know and your team to know, so that you can have a discussion or you can pay particular attention. We use this also for training. So when we know a bad threat is coming through, we allow that individual to get a little bit more training on our training platform than, let's say, a typical user would see. Um, Look, the threats are out there. This is just within the last 60 days, and these are public sector related, a town, a city, and the public library. So these are going on across the United States. So here's an example of what we call a payroll challenge oh, excuse me, with business email compromise. You can see in the center, this looks great. A subject request to change payroll, that kind of alerts us that, hey, look, we need to look at this a little bit better. Header information looks great. But we've quarantined this. Why? Because when you do a little closer look at the email, they've attached a little bit more information to the email, which ultimately would do a redirect. Dorothy doesn't necessarily see this being sent from Sam. It's really not being sent from Sam. So we stop this from happening, doesn't get to the environment. Credential phishing is another example. This is a compromise of OneDrive. And so an individual has stored a file which essentially has a bad URL in it. This actually would go out to this Cloudflare URL and essentially do an infection. We've seen that this is happening internally because of our internal detection software, and we don't allow that to essentially go out, and then we help remediate the document. Credential phishing, and Vlad actually pointed this out. I didn't know this was a dating website, but in this instance, email comes in. I'm laughing, Vlad. You can laugh with me. So this email would come in. Zusk, an individual that uses that, and they try to log in from their work computer. They don't see that this URL is actually bad. We would detect it. In a lot of instances, if you don't have that kind of URL rewrite, this would come into your environment. They use their credentials to log in. They're immediately compromised. And if those credentials are like type to the organization, they then would become infected. And we all know that the bad guys are playing on their vulnerable. Toad, telephone-oriented attack delivery. So, I've personally witnessed this and I had to help folks out. But as you can see, this comes in as, hey, look, the Geek Squad has charged my PayPal account. Um, this would be in the instance of, sending to a user, perhaps they've used their work email to register something that they bought. And so they become crazy, a little bit, panicked. They go to the Geek Squad number at the bottom. The malicious user says, sure, I can help you get rid of that. I just need to have access to your device to help you log in to your account to get it removed. And then lo and behold, this user ends up infecting, downloads the Baza loader, and then they're infected. So back attacks targeting people, this is just a recap of, what really is happening. Lure someone, task someone, email employment fraud, is what we're seeing. And then gift carding is a common thing. And so then the last is the payroll update. So, a user, sends an email and is asking Gene, Gene may know Maria, Gene may have seen before that Maria is using a Gmail account in order to do the update. But here you can see it's not necessarily what Maria would have as far as the correct email. It's Eric, and so we would remove that immediately before it would actually hit Gene, because we know that this is not the right email coming from Maria. So given that, I've talked a little bit about, those are email compromises that we're seeing, and that are largely affecting people within the organization. And so we have our own security training platform. It's called PSAT, and it's really part of our security awareness. And so you all are challenged with, security awareness training. And look, I got it. October is usually that time. We feel that it needs to be easy, and we feel that it needs to be longer than just October. And some of you may be laughing out there, about that we only do this in October. We don't do it year round. And you wouldn't be wrong, right? Because if you look at this 20%, right, um, you know, only 20% have really the required time allowed for formal training, right? Let alone cybersecurity training, right? And so given that, we understand that it needs to be easy and training has to be kind of embedded. So what we do is we provide tailored content that's threat driven. I talked about our threat and awareness and our threat gathering with all those users, with all those emails. We know what's going on worldwide. We take that information and then we feed it into our training platform so that the content is directed to what threats we're seeing. We also consider and allow you and your organization to consider the very attacked people. And so then we tailor that education to whether, hey, look, is this very attacked people? Or, hey, look, is this common users across your platform? Is this someone that is in procurement? Is this someone that's in any one of your other organizations, specific to their job role? This gives you a better detection for your users. And look, if you're educating your users, you're not only educating them for their job role, you're educating them also for life, right? L3, lifelong learning. And that also for the CISO provides better visibility because we give them a dashboard and allow them to have visibility across the platform and across their program. I will tell you, in Kentucky, we were implementing a Cornerstone, a learning management system across the entire personnel cabinet for all of our 33,000 users. So our PSAT environment actually uploaded directly to that that training so that we knew it when it was completed. And if someone didn't complete, obviously they got a little bit of a nudge and we had awareness. We can expand and scale that platform. And so how do we do that? We use the ACE format. We assess an individual right through the threats, risks, knowledge, skills, and ability, KSAs, right? We help to change that behavior. We automate, we adapt, et cetera. And then we measure and change the environment. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about AI to our latest acquisition that we happened this past December, and it's called Tessian. It's our AI engine. And so if you look at things related to LLM, large language models, and detection, we apply along the email chain adaptive email security, which is our Testium product. We implement that in the inbox, and we allow that within the inbox to know a user. And so we detect prior, and then we detect during the sending phase. So there isn't that oops of an email being sent to someone that shouldn't be. And so I will stop there because I think I might be at time. I don't know if I am. I think I might be. Alexis, how'd I do?
You did fantastic. It is 58. Perfect timing. Nicely done. Chuck, thank you. We have 2 minutes. Let me see if anybody wants to come off mute and ask any questions that maybe they have before we move to end the session and be mindful of everybody's time. Anybody? It's okay if nobody has questions right now. What will happen after today's session is that I'll get an email out to everyone that attended today's session with Chuck's direct contact information. So if something's bouncing around or you just need some time to percolate the question fully, you'll be able to have some time to do that. And then please feel free to reach out to Chuck directly with any questions. We're also recording today's session, so that'll be made available on our website. So if you need to circle back and take another look at something that Chuck presented today before asking the question, that opportunity will be there as well. Chuck, thank you for your time this morning. Thank you to Proofpoint for being a wonderful supporter of TCCP. Thank you to all of our attendees that dialed in this morning, and I hope that everybody has a great rest of the day today.
Thank you.